Good afternoon, everyone. We'll get started here just a moment early. This presentation is recorded, so anybody that did sign up will automatically receive this recording in their inbox. My name is Ben. If you have not joined us before, this is a complement of our 15-minute webinar series today covering preventing financial elder abuse. A very sensitive topic because I know a lot of us, if we're not already in that age, we might be taking care of someone that is that age and concerns. And in my 13 years of banking experience, I've seen a lot of odd things come up. Family members that get along well, and then when something starts happening to mom and dad, that's when it starts getting difficult, or things that were not important are now very important to individuals, and they will really kind of stand their ground on it. So we see a lot of different ways of looking at it. There are some terms that we're going to go over that will talk about like what is elder abuse. However, it doesn't mean that if you have a deranged sibling that's going through your parents' statements that it's naturally automatically elderly abuse. So just be careful when you're doing that, but it is a way to kind of catch up to it. And again, preventing is what we're talking about today, not necessarily reporting or getting rid of, but this is preventing. So I always like to start with a quote. So to care for those who have once cared for us is one of the highest honors. And I truly believe, I know my parents are starting to get there up in age. When we start talking about things like POAs, we start talking about trusts and wills and different things, or maybe it's not even an elderly person. Maybe someone has, I've seen members that have suffered an accident and became incapable of doing one of the 5 living tasks. And that will definitely also put people in that situation. Essentially, when you're relying on another person to help make your decisions, there's a lot rolling. So first, I always like to define what we're actually talking. So what is elder abuse? Elder abuse is committed when someone is properly, or unethically, or illegally accessing a senior's funds to, essentially give themselves personal gains or self-dealing or, reaching the person. This looks like a lot of different things. It might be in the form of cashing an elder person's check without authorization, or we see that a lot where a checkbook has come up missing, and then we'll be forging a person's signature and cashing those checks off their account. We do have a lot of procedures inside the credit union as well as other financial institutions that will help protect some of these, but it is hard when there's like a POA, which is power of attorney, which is a legal document that allows you to kind of make decisions based upon a fiduciary for your parents, which means in their best interest. So POAs are for the best interest of that person that is under that power of attorney. And those are simple to get done. They're not hard. A lot of people think it's a big drawn out process, and it's not. It's really a form that you get notarized, your notarized signature and that person's notarized signature. It also can be accompanied with a lawyer's signature. So there's a lot of different ones you can get. But again, we see these as being one. So misusing or stealing another person's money or possessions. It doesn't always have to be money. It doesn't always have to be the checkbook, right? I've seen some elderly people, their nice belongings like sports cars or vacation homes. They don't know that they're being used, and people take advantage of that. We also see convincing or deceiving an older person to signing a document. We see this often. Sometimes it's signing a will. Now, lawyers, the reason that they require trust to have a lawyer is to hopefully weed that kind of deception out. So the best overall thing, especially if you're dealing with parents that have, or older ones, or seniors that have a little bit of wealth, a trust is well worth the money because it actually has some, there's just a third party involved that helps maintain. So make sure that if a trust comes up, like if a trust comes across my desk and I'm setting up an account that was just like mom and dad, and now you're going to be the trustee of the trust. Well, we make mom and dad trustees as well as you on there. And then there's a document that says how that account's supposed to act. And you can, I'm not saying you can't get in legal trouble if you don't do it the other way, but there's very much clear written rules in a trust. And this is why they're kind of expensive, that if you break them, there is, pretty severe repercussions legally. And then lastly, convincing a senior to sign up for a risky business opportunity that mostly benefits the other person. I really have not seen one that's, it doesn't not benefit the senior citizen or the elderly person, but it's very risky, and it uses a large amount of their liquid cash or their retirement. Buying buildings for hundreds of thousands of dollars when people don't have that much. So I have seen that where it's really not in that person's best interest. So it might not necessarily be a business that doesn't make that person money, but it's just very risky or takes on a substantial amount their savings. So what are some of the consequences of financial abuse? Well, financial issues aren't the only thing that affect financial abuse, and the target isn't only one affected, but the target and the target's loved one may be impacted financially and emotionally. And so what that looks like financially is loss of money and assets, property, credit damage. I've seen credit run through the mill, arrests, and unserviceable debt, where it's so great that you just can't do anything about it. Like, you could never make the payment, couldn't pay it off. And so that's one thing that happens. And it does stretch beyond just the target. Again, it does go on to the loved ones, the family, that were doing the right thing, because now there might be medical costs that come up or other things. And then the emotional thing is obviously depression, anxiety, troubles at work. The reduced quality of living is the one that sets with me the most. I've seen that one because if someone has a nest egg that's gone and then they get sicker, then the quality there of I'm not saying the quality of attention because of insurance, but the quality of life isn't that great. They can't get some of the things they want. Like if you have a house that needs to be modified, let's say you need to put a ramp in for your elderly parent or yourself, you might not have the money to do that or the credit score to do that. So it is beyond just stealing money or property assets. It can be an impact that does it. I mean, we think about when loved ones actually pass away, that isn't cheap to bury someone. And that's another one I see people getting hit, is that someone runs their money down so far that they don't have anything for what's left over after they're gone. So we think about who are the targets of the other of financial abuse. It's not just a one-stop shop. So it is seniors who suffer from cognitive impairments, right? So you got dementia, amnesia, some of these things that come on in older age, and it's usually it's usually the memory loss ones that really get people, because they just don't remember. And then you get a lone wolf or the black sheep of the family that they see that and they pry on it, and they pry on people's goodwill in that person. It is the senior age is generally between 80 and 89. It is seniors that generally live in urban areas, because ones that are like in the city generally probably have friends and people right next door or above them or close to them. Urban areas, they might only have one person that drives out that far, and then service them. So they might not have many options to avoid that abuser, right? And then physical fertility and other physical issues are definitely a thing. If someone is in a nursing home, if someone is in a home that they're getting hospice or they're just unable to leave, they might feel the need to actually have to take on some of that abuse. Like they know they're getting abused, but they deal with it because they think it's their only option, and they're backed into a corner. So they just let it go on, knowing, and their pride of some of our elderly citizens are so huge, right? And it's usually the many targets, and this is the one that gets going, is the many targets of the elderly abuse are the friendly, the outgoing, and most the trusting. Every person that I've worked with that's 60 or above is such an honest person, such a trustworthy person, that they just don't think that someone would do that. And this is why they get sucked into some of these other scams and frauds, and we won't go down that rabbit hole today. We have a lot of recordings on scams and frauds and other things like phishing, but this is what happens. It's just they're trusting, and it's sad because you have to teach your either elderly parent or yourself to not be trusting and be very much stingy with your information. Even if you have a couple of sons and daughters, you have to pick one that you very much trust, because it's weird how people change. And I'm not saying everything's going to be a snowball effect where it's all going to be bad, but it is something definitely to consider when you are getting up there. If you have loved ones getting up there as well, is just keeping one person in charge that is trusted. I know my wife's family has 7 siblings, and their parents are going through the elderly process. They're about 85, 86 each, and the siblings that all get along, now it's becoming something where it's not like there's fight, but just like there's a lot of things that were not important that are now very important. And each individual sibling has their voice and concern, and everybody's valid. I mean, no one's wrong. We got to listen to each other and create that communication. But there always is the need where someone comes in, and so you got to have the quarterback, right? The person that everybody agrees, like, this person will be a fiduciary. Again, that means in that person's best interest. That's going to quarterback it, because there should be someone that gets the final say. If not, if you have a larger family, it might end up getting down to where you're conversating with a lawyer, and the lawyer's negotiating or kind of navigating the conversation. But you shouldn't have to get to that, and that's why I recommend sometimes having a quarterback or a person that's like the say, or like the final person. Maybe it's the one that holds the POA, or the ones that is the trust or the living survivor of the will, right? And then targets of elders are on two ends of the education spectrum. So you get people that are super educated, smart doctors that have retired, and the reason that they get taken advantage of is they have always been looked up to as being, a center of influence, a person that people will follow. And so now they're starting to lose their cognitive. They're not getting as sharp. They're running issues, and so it's their pride that's really preventing them. Like they might even again know what's going on, but they've been so smart and they've never been wrong their whole life that, and I'm not trying to say that in the wrong way, but like, they've generally been smart. They've been generally right. They have a lot of education and intelligence to back it. And then it's the other side of the spectrum, the ones that, maybe didn't graduate high school, which is not super uncommon from people that are in their 70s and 80s, that didn't have any higher education. We usually see it's like the widows, right? So the husband was the breadwinner, made the money, and it could be the other way around. I'm not trying to go down that, but just that was what it was. It was that golden era, that nuclear family where dad made the money, mom was a homemaker, dad passes away, and mom hasn't had to do much. I mean, she might work the bills, but she doesn't do much. And so her education level, not intelligence, but her education level, and that's something that specifically we see is with that lower education, that they don't, they're not as, I don't want to say sharp, but just don't ask for help, right? They've been running a family and they have a lot of experience in doing it, but we don't see that actually do it. So it's not the middle, it's the high and the low of education, not intelligence. That is also a target. So who are the perpetrators? Believe it or not, criminal fraudsters are one of the lower ones. Actually, someone just randomly getting a hold of your loved one's information. Could be phishing, it could be through a mail scam, it could be a lot of different ways, but it is generally not so much criminal fraudsters. They do it in a different way. And then you got business professionals, same thing. Like you got, it could be someone like a banker, right? That has evil in their heart, and they, kind of convince people to move money around. There's a lot of laws preventing that from like a banking standpoint, but there are businesses out there that aren't so highly regulated like we are. That there are some loopholes that could definitely be that. Acquaintance or caregivers. I know a lot of people think when they think caregivers are like the number one, but really what it is it's family members and friends. Again, I'm not saying every family member is going to go around, but if you know that your siblings, if one of them is not necessarily honest or the best one with money, they should not be in charge of your parents' money. It doesn't matter if they're upset or not about that decision, because at the end of the day, you are protecting that loved one and you're doing what's in their best interest. And again, it might get to the point where, some people are contacting lawyers and we're trying to get something worked out. Don't shy away from that. I'm not saying be the one that run to it, but don't shy away from it. Because again, the prize in mind is preventing your parents or your loved ones from getting this even happening. And if it's a deranged sibling, they're off the list. I mean, it's a hard call to make, but you're protecting everything that your parents or loved ones have. And then friends. So the friends is a good one, because this is where I see some people getting like financially bullied. So they'll get an older person and they'll pretty much bully them, not physically necessarily, but emotionally, cognitively. They'll outwit them, get them to do things, tell them like, oh, you're not, you're dumb for not doing this, and this is a great business deal, we should sign up and invest into this. And so the 5 tips for prevention, really, these are just ground rules, but definitely a place to start. So don't give out personal or financial information over the phone or to people you don't know or trust. Just don't give out your information, right? Don't respond to mail or email requesting personal information, or it's unsolicited, right? If they have no business reaching you, don't do it. And I'm not saying that, if you do business with like consumers and consumers emails you, just to disregard it. But if it's like a random, like let's say DTE Energy sends you an email saying that your energy is going to be shut off, but you deal with consumers, like that's even a bigger red flag. But again, be wary of the ones that are related to your emails, because they're related to the business that you might have, because that's called phishing. And what they get to do is they get you to click on a link. And then generally what they do to elderly people is they put some kind of malware on their computer, tablet, and then they make it do its thing. And then all of a sudden, randomly, here comes an email or a call to that person saying, oh man, you got some issues with your computer. And the person's like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe you called. How did you know? And then what they do is they go into the remote into the computer, remove that malware, and then they start what's called beachfronting. They start just going through your stuff, right? Or what they do is repetitively every like 6 weeks, they'll put the malware back on your computer and call you up, and they're getting hundreds of dollars. I saw one customer when I worked at a different bank come in, it's probably about 5 years ago, They came in, it's like, I gotta cancel this payment. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, they're charging me hundreds of dollars a month. This lady, which was living in a retirement home already, paying a lot of money, was getting scammed for like $400 a month to fix her computer. And it was clearly one of those phishing scams. And that happens right here in Kalamazoo. So it's where no one's avoiding from it. But that's one thing on that. Don't send money to anyone without verifying their identity. You get the sweetheart scam, old people being lonely and running into that issue. So just verify, actually physically talk to them or see them in person. If you haven't seen them in person, you should not be sending money to them. If you don't know them physically, don't be sending money. Don't click on links, send emails. Again, phishing, pop-ups are the same thing, unless it's a trusted source. And then don't be afraid to talk to your loved ones about their finances and caregiving. So this would be something to tell to like your elderly parents, like you should not feel embarrassed to talk to me. This is a natural thing, whereas a person gets older, they're not as sharp as they used to be. They should ask for help, and not saying they should give away their pride or all their freedoms, but it shouldn't be something that's embarrassing. So some of the warning signs, I know we're pushing up here. I apologize. There's a lot of information to draw. This is our last slide here, so hang tight. So some of the warning signs that you see of the elder abuse is starting to happen is new friendships, right? This new friend comes in, great person, hanging out all the time. Maybe it doesn't fit well with like the age, like maybe your parent's 80 and this person's like 40. That should be a red sign. Or if they withdraw from hanging out with you and your family, or maybe their friends, like just stop hanging out with them, that should be another thing that indicates. Targets might be confused or uncharacteristically resentful about their finances. Like if you start asking your loved one about, oh, so what's going on with your account? Oh, don't worry about it. I got it. You can sense that triggeredness where like they're almost like hiding something because they're embarrassed. They know what's going on and they're embarrassed. And that's more than that's what he is. Like if you just like not catch them, but just really make it a safe zone for them to talk about it, you will find yourself in a situation where they're more comfortable. But if it's uncharacteristically of them to be resentful about it, that should be a red flag. Unusual connectivity. If Gam's 80 years old and I start seeing party store stops, going to the liquor store 5 times a week or a couple times a day, or going gambling and grandma's not a gambler, yes, that's unusual connectivity. But be careful when you jump the gun here. I've seen some family members that are butting heads about parents. Just make sure you give both sides an opportunity to speak and be clear about it. Another one that most people don't see is the changes in appearance or hygiene, right? So if they're, it's not saying that they can't get to the shower. It's like all of a sudden they don't have money. All of a sudden their bills are not being paid and their water shut off. I did some time in Battle Creek working at another financial institution, and I had more than one person come in where they're like very embarrassed, but like someone was taking their money and they didn't have money to pay their consumer bill. So what are they doing? They're just living without power. That's like an 80-year-old person in the middle of winter. It's heartbreaking. The people that are affected, and it's because it's such a trusting generation. But these are some of the main warning signs. So that's all I have. I apologize for running a couple minutes over there. Was there any questions from anybody? Again, I will send this out as a recording so you can refresh. You will have at that point my email address so you can respond if it's more personal. But was there any questions in the field? Awesome. Well, Kathy, Courtney, Julie, Marilyn, thank you so much for joining today. I do appreciate it. Check back as we have a webinar every Thursday at noon covering different topics. Next week will be budgeting for families. And then the last one of this month will be identity protection programs, which is like an insurance that protects your credit report and social security number. So tune back. We'll see you then.